It's time to hate Destiny 2.
Yeah.
It's time to fucking hate it. We're here.
They made a second one.
They made
Why?
a second one.
Why would they do
angry.
that?
It's the okay.
Fuck.
All right. That's our. We're in week 3 of a season, or I guess episode.
It's actually week 4, technically.
Oh, you guys. And now we have to hate
here.
it. Yeah, that's right. Exactly. Actually, we have to hate it now. That's how it works here in these parts, in the world of Destiny 2. Hello, I'm Mike Burgess, Helm Tower Podcast, here with Cam Koenig, Auri O'Neill.
Hi.
Hello, everyone. I guess we have some news here to start the episode with. We're just gonna start it here. I mean, I don't know the order of things that is happening in the world of Helm Tower Rational Passions, but Auri, you can take it away.
Yeah, this is my last episode of Helm to Tower as a regular host. I imagine there will be a day when you all need me and I have to break.
And I'll just be like, actually, I'll be like,
break
no.
the glass.
We'll just send you a text like, we need you back in the content mines just for one last ride, baby. Let's go.
One last ride.
That's right.
Yeah, I'm sure, some people might have some questions. When is this episode going out, Mike? Monday?
Right? We usually do Mondays, or try and get it ready for Monday. I don't know I know you had other stuff probably going up around this.
Yeah.
So I don't know if it's all coming out at once, or this episode will probably be in that same time, so.
I don't mind telling the Helm to Tower listeners, the homies, as it were.
The Helmies.
The Helmies. Okay. We can't actually make that a thing. That's just
I kind of hated that actually. We don't have to do that.
We just lost like 20 of our very small subscribers.
So I'm leaving Irrational Passions, a sentence I never thought I'd say on a podcast. There's going to be some more information about that on irrationalpassions.com, but that does obviously include Helm to Tower. And it's bittersweet. It's not a bad blood thing. I hope that's obvious.
Yeah.
No, I joined and the shit just went downhill.
It went immediately.
Fucking nosedive.
Some could say it's been downhill for a while, and that's okay.
Too real.
Too real.
No, but not a bad blood. It is just a me personal level thing, and there will be more details soon, and you can still follow me. I'm still gonna be around. I'm still gonna complain about stuff and potentially talk about video games sometimes, but maybe less often. But yeah, this is my last podcast for IP as well, just in general, which is visceral, I will say.
Visceral. After many years,
14 years.
Yeah, that's so long. That's crazy.
Yeah, seriously.
I don't know if I've done anything for 14 years, to be honest. So
it's a lot. Yeah. It's half my life. Yeah.
Yep.
So.
Wish you all the best. We've been me and you together have been at it for a while. I know you've been at it for much longer. So of course we'll always be good friends, and we'll always still talk and everything. But
I'm gonna play Destiny with you guys.
Yeah,
still,
I know.
So
shit!
I know it's kind of crazy, but we're still gonna probably raid pretty frequently. So
as usual,
as usual. But
wish you the best as always. It'll Helm Tower will probably be changing in some shape or form. We haven't really figured that out yet. Me and Cam really even talked about it, but we'll either we still might do this podcast. We might transform it into something else or do other things on Helm Tower. We'll figure it out. But for now, we're just gonna do a podcast and talk about the week that is Destiny and all that fun stuff. But let me say I guess how was the past week for y'all in game? Did you get into anything wet and wild in the world of Destiny, or are you kind of slowing
the
down?
Raid.
We did.
Yeah, you did.
We did finally get a raid clear.
What'd y'all think? How was it?
2 thumbs up from me.
Yeah,
very fun. It's a good raid. It definitely takes a lot to get wrap around and get accustomed to. And I think having that admittedly having that extra layer of like the surges and stuff from last week, it was, I guess that, and I don't know if they made other changes on top of removing surges. I think it was just specifically the surge change.
I know they removed them and then basically just like baked them into all outgoing damage. So it's basically like instead of just removing surges, they just kind of made them apply for everything. Source of damage.
They just gave everything. Yeah, they just gave everything that damage level, which definitely
was fine.
Yeah, it definitely was pretty noticeable going from like playing a little bit and then you can be like, well, okay, yeah, I feel like I'm actually, you know, doing much more damage and also not having to like be kind of, you know, the usual thing with surges of being like, oh, well, if I'm not using a surge based damage type or whatever on this weapon, I feel like I'm kind of falling behind, even though that's like not really fully the case, but you know, it always feels it's like a mental thing for sure. But yeah, I mean, I had a lot of fun. We had two, I think, other wonderful folks who were already in our that were like not from our normal group join us, and they clearly had ran it a whole lot, and you know, definitely were able to just kind of come in and like, you know, definitely helped us through that fourth encounter much more smoothly than I think we've had in the past, for sure. But I think we also got a pretty good handle on it across our group as well from the other folks who are in it. Could be we got through.
What was y'all's favorite encounter?
The fourth encounter is my favorite encounter.
Yeah. I really like the witness fight itself. The
witness fight's fun. Yeah,
I think it's really
it's
cool.
Also a very good boss.
Yeah, I think it's really fun. I like the different hands and figuring those parts of it out, and like there's definitely a lot of ad clearing like people that are just kind of can be in that role, but at the same time, like it still does feel like they're impactful because they have to be killing specific things when they show up. Like, oh yes, tormentor or not tormentors, but the subjugators are coming up. We need to like focus these down to like continue the thing, or like, you know, having the witness test and having people like be prepared for that stuff. And that was nice. I thought it was like a fun loop that it is like, and it's fast paced and having the actual, like, I liked the Final Fantasy 14 ass feeling, like actual final fight sequence with the witness where it's like you're literally watching him.
If you are out of position
at
all in that thing, you just get fucking melted. It's crazy.
Yeah, it was cool. So I really like that final fight. It's cool.
Yeah, I agree. And I think like that ad control situation reminded me most of the planets encounter in that like it's very intense. Even we were doing regular mode and it was like you need to be on top of this. There's screebs.
Those weavers are fucking brutal.
Yeah. The weavers will yank you off the platform.
I think the weavers are the worst. Like every time I've run it, those have always been like those are top on the ad clear kill list. Like, and then below that is like maybe the subjugators.
Yeah, and it's Screebs, it's the Weavers, the Subjugators, and the Scorn Captains will drop those totems that will like in multiple different ways ruin your whole day. So it is like a very interesting intersection of like enemies that demand your attention as an ad clear person. And I definitely felt like, oh, I need to know like this is kind of the rhythm of when the Screebs spawn in because they'll just creep up behind you and then you're toast and stuff like that. So yeah, it felt very demanding as someone just like trying to keep the battlefield clear in a really cool way. It felt different than most boss fights, I would say.
Yeah, for sure. I like that aspect of it. It felt like even if it was like heavy on it could be a little bit heavier on the ad clear kind of rolls. Like it still felt like everybody was doing a little bit of little parts of it. And then I like the I got I don't know, Ari, if you got any decent weapons out of it, but I somehow lucked into what, even with like our like half run that we did a couple times, and up to this now somehow I've just gotten the full hunter armor set already. I didn't even realize that when we finished, but then I like went through and looked through it after the fact, and I was like, oh, I already have that whole thing. Cool. I got a couple of drops of that pulse rifle, and I really like that.
That pulse rifle is, I think, what I'm going to be hunting for next, because I got the SMG pattern done already.
Nice.
And I really like that SMG quite a bit.
Yeah.
I want to play around with that pulse rifle really bad.
Yeah. I got a drop of it with four times charm and incandescent. Yeah, and it feels like really good on that, because it's called a heavy burst. and it's like a two burst like thing. So it's like it still shoots pretty fast, but it's like they're like stronger shots. So it feels like somewhere in between like graviton lance and a normal pulse rifle, in a way that feels like really good. And it's just like it's like pretty stable too. So I really liked how it feels.
I've seen a lot of people playing around with like a Firefly incandescent on it, which sounds very fun.
Yeah.
So I definitely want to get in there and try to get that. That rate's good. I'm still having a really good time with it. A couple of people from my team I think it was Monday. It was like right before the surges went away. We ran some friends of ours through. Friend of the site, Moises Tavares.
Yeah.
We ran him, Jesse Vitelli.
I hear he had a little bit of an existential crisis in the fourth encounter.
Oh my god, it was so funny.
I know, Mike, that you get it.
I'm with him,
and I get it as well. It's rough out there.
It was very funny because like we taught them like the whole thing. We got it knocked out in an evening, which I like was like very surprised by in a way because that raid is hefty and it is a lot to put on new people.
Dense.
But like we got through it. Which is like fucking awesome. I really enjoyed teaching this raid. It's really, really satisfying and really fun to just like see people pick up on stuff and, figure that stuff out.
Right.
But yeah, that fourth encounter, man. There was a brief period of time because like whenever we were setting that run up, one of them in the group was just like, I'd like to see if we can figure some stuff out, but like what is going to happen is like, I want to like take a look at this and then 10 minutes later I'll be like, okay, just tell me what's going on, which I'm like, that's fine. That's totally cool. I totally get that. You still like want to like experiment and look around for a little bit. Whenever we got to the fourth encounter, it like we'd been running long enough for this point and like a couple people were like running late. So we were just like, let's just like get you guys through this, like walk you through how it works and all that. Like halfway through us explaining just any part of encounter 4, the dude was just like, hey, y'all remember how I said that I wanted to figure this out on my own?
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, bud. And he's just like, no, never, never again.
Please come save me.
And then, because like 2 of the people on my raid team were there, and we're just like, well, we figured it out on our own. And he was just like, fucking how? And it's like, because we took fucking 9 hours on
it was
this.
half a day.
But it was really fun. We eventually, like, once we got through that, which was like definitely the biggest wall for sure. Because it like, there's no like real combat difficulty as much in that on non-contest, but it is like execution difficulty is a lot. It's incredibly dense, like you said, Auri. And then eventually we got to the witness, and then like everybody's like, okay, are we gonna keep going? Or it's like, we got 1 encounter left, let's just knock it out. And they're just like, okay, do y'all want to learn how to do this, or do you want to clear it right now? And then they were just like, let's just get this done. Like we'd been going for like 7 or 8 hours at that point. And fucking somehow me and like the 2 other people on my team, we just put the new guys on ad clear, and we just like knocked it out first pull with against the witness, which is like something that our team just struggles to do normally. So I felt very fucking good about that.
Nice.
But it was a really good time. I most importantly, I was really happy that they got the pop-up after you clear the raid before they fixed it to where the jacket is just like giant on the fucking screen. I'm really happy that they got to experience it.
Broken one, yeah.
It was so fucking funny. It just like zoomed in, just like burn, just like the entire screen was just like a fucking like deeply zoomed in picture of the jacket, and that's all that it had.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, that's hey, that raid's really good still, turns out.
Yeah, it's really fun. I'm well, either our group or my raid group, I think, are going to be running it again. Yeah, in the next couple of days.
Have y'all?
So I'm trying to figure it out.
Have y'all looked at the process for like the mods or the red border? Because it's like kind of annoying.
Yeah, I've looked at it like a little bit, but not too much.
Yeah. I have like one mod and I'm just like, I don't like, I am actually considering, just because of how like kind of tough this raid is, just keeping a set of armor from this raid in my inventory to just swap into. Because some of those raid mods are kind of insane. Like one of them that I think it's either whenever you like charge a thing or whenever you like deposit resonance or get resonance or something, it just straight up gives you special ammo, which is like kind of nutty.
Nice.
Like the raid mods, they're kind of wild. They're like definitely, I think, pushing people to try and use them a little bit more.
Yeah, or like have that stuff for like a master mode or whatever.
Yeah, which I haven't even taken a crack at this week. I think my team is going to try to get that done, like first encounter master done, and then the rest of it regular, because I don't want to do this whole thing on master right now.
Yeah, I would piece by piece it too.
Yep.
I definitely there's like it's always that thing where it's like a part of me would love to like try and get the title for this, but it's always that like tough thing where it's just like people in our group, there's not enough people like in our like respective groups that I would be able to join in with, and everybody else already has their group that's like willing to do that. Yeah. So it's like I can't really be like, hey, I'm gonna take that person's spot. Like that's just not gonna happen. So I've just accepted my fate on the like, as much as I would like to do more of that kind of stuff. It just doesn't always line up, so it's fine. But yeah, I'm at least looking forward to jumping back into it. And like now that like everybody's like, I think our group is more comfortable with it. I know like my clan mates like were struggling a lot pre surges, and like they're still trying to figure it out. And another aspect is like one of the guys who is usually like one of the like guys. He's one of the dudes I do GMs with alongside one other guy. He got married like last week or something like that. So he's like basically gone from now in the thing from until now. And he's usually the guy that kind of gets everybody together better than most other people do. And other people like don't show up as much if he's not around. So it's like, well, people are trying to get groups together and it's not fully coming together. And some of the people that are there are definitely a little bit more, there's definitely a few guys that I would say are like very, very casual players. So they see us like jumping into the raid week one when it drops, and he's like, I'll be there in like a month. I'll come around. It's like, all right, sure. But you know,
I'm like,
which is like,
it is just
fine.
It is just like we've been saying, like a testament to kind of how tough this raid is, that like I am still seeing in my clan, like there are still groups that are just doing weekly normal mode clears that are having to take like hour or two breaks in between certain encounters because they are just like throwing themselves at it that hard still. Like it is wild. Yeah, my like fastest clear is still only like an hour 58, which is like unheard of for every other normal mode raid, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it took us 3 hours or like just under. Yeah,
it's a beefy motherfucker.
Yeah,
that's for sure.
It's a big one.
We got stuck on the second encounter for the longest time, which was like maybe 50 minutes. But that is the one where it still is like, okay, these guys are very much a threat. So the ad clear situation of that, like cleaning up those knights and the yellow bars are like, it's very difficult, I would say. So it's not even like getting to damage is the hardest part. Doing damage is like fine.
It's totally fine. Yeah.
Which is
his HP isn't that bad. Yeah.
Yeah, it's more of like, and like mechanically what you're doing in damage is like whatever. It's like we're just hitting this guy up close.
We're just smacking the swords
for about 30 seconds straight. And it's great and I like it, but I think it's really it's a different dynamic for a boss fight of like it is way more complicated to get to damage. It kind of reminds me of Riven in a weird way.
A little,
like, there's a lot of different things. There's like movement that you have to come back and forth through to just get to the part where you can do damage. That part's easy, and then getting back to it is tough again. Which again, a lot of the encounters feel like they are changing the format of like what a standard Destiny raid encounter feels like. Which I like a lot. I'm like definitely in the boat of like definitely top 4. You know, it's up there with the big boys like Last Wish, King's Fall, and Vow the Disciple. But I don't know like where in that it's gonna fall.
Sure.
the third encounter is like probably the weakest, but it's still pretty good, I think.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Mhm.
The third encounter, I think like that it kind of felt like them just like throwing us a bone in between 2 and 4,
Yeah.
which are I think the hardest encounters
Which
of
is
the entire
necessary.
raid.
I
It's
do
so
like.
necessary.
I
Oh my
genuinely
God.
think that, and it's better than like a very extended platforming section because they have. I think the platforming areas are pretty well paced
Mm,
throughout it. There's really only 2. I guess there's 3.
like 2 or
Yeah.
3, yeah.
But as the intro, then there's between
2 and 3.
2 and 3, and then
Yeah.
there's between 4 and 5.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't. It's fine. It's not offensive. I think it's strange that you get that, and then like that's when they throw all those mechanics out the window, right?
Yeah.
It is
They're just like,
interesting.
anyway,
Yeah.
shapes, check these
Like,
out. And you're just
yeah.
like, what the fuck?
It almost would have made more sense to
But
me
it's-
if
but I
that
like- but it's
encounter was the second encounter, and then you had the third shape in the first boss.
Mhm.
But you know, I see why they didn't do that because it's like then you're
Yeah.
doing the first and third encounter
Yeah.
back to back, and it's like this is exhausting.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Just a lot
I
of,
think it was
a lot of back and forth plates without much variety. Where
yeah, it
at
was
least the
already
boss, it kind of
kind of-
is kind of more of a mix up with how you're going to do the plates and that stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it was already kind of grueling with the way that they laid it out. I still think that like if you are going through this for the first time, putting Verity at encounter 4 is just a fucking diabolical move because
Yeah.
the first 3 encounters are just they require like so much focus and energy that it's just like, all right, now sit down and fucking think. It's like,
Yeah.
what the fuck, man?
Throw out everything you knew from the last 3 and can
Yeah.
learn something almost completely new.
It's like,
that is,
have y'all
that is also
ever-
very complex.
have y'all ever heard of chess boxing? Which is like a real thing. Actually, I promise if you haven't heard of it, which is like straight up like this event where they have boxers like sit like box for like a full round and then they sit down and then they play chess. And then it's like basically going back and forth. And then the person who loses is one who gets like knocked out or there's a checkmate. It's like super interesting and it like requires you to have like really wild like
It sounds
just
like-
determination and grit in
Yeah.
like ways that are not expected of you normally, and this absolutely feels like that.
Yeah, it also sounds like a plot of an anime where it's just like
It super does.
It's
Yes.
just like
Yeah.
chess people who take it super seriously, and if the chess goes wrong, they just start fighting. Like,
They just beat the shit out of each other. Yeah.
but
yeah,
yeah,
it's good.
yeah, raids,
raid,
raids,
turns out.
raids, very fun. But the other thing that's been going on, unless either of y'all still had any other things y'all were doing this week, I think the big other thing is Echoes, right? The Echoes seasonal stuff.
I haven't had a chance to do. I was going to do some GM farming this weekend as well because I
Yeah,
want to
same.
try out that new LFR. And
Yeah.
boy, howdy, it sure seems like Song of Flame is fucking good in the GM.
Sounds like it.
Yeah,
It's like
Seems-
fucking 90% DR. Jesus
it
Christ.
sounds pretty busted.
People are just like running up and smacking the bosses in Glassway, and that is unheard of.
yeah, yeah,
excellent.
It's pretty,
I love it.
pretty wild.
No
Happy
doubt.
for you, Auri. Happy for you.
Yeah, it seems pretty wild. I haven't jumped into any GM stuff yet either. Mostly because I always just wait. I usually like to wait for the nodes to come up, and then it's just like, hey, the node's up. We can
Yeah.
just do whatever we want to want, and then you just wait for like a week or two that the like a whenever it's like, oh hey, this is the weapon I want, like the new linear, and then let's just knock a bunch of them out that same week.
Yeah,
Also-
I probably would have done the same if it weren't double loot week right now.
Yeah, that
Like
double
that sounds great.
double
So,
loot also helps a lot. But something interesting I saw, which I'm not sure, which goes into a lot of the discussion from the Destiny community and all of that of this week of echoes and things like that, is that the next week in Destiny pop-up thing, if you load in the game, usually shows up on Fridays, says that like the cycle for Nightfalls is looping back to the ones that were part of it's looping back to Warden of Nothing, which was the one that started the week. So people are maybe thinking that the weeks, so the GM, the Nightfalls will loop again, and then we hit Act 2, the next set of GMs will open up. So they're kind of keeping them not as like a normal weekly rotation, but also like rotating them within the episode, like the acts of the episodes rather.
Interesting.
Which, that's an interesting change. I know a lot of people have a lot of thoughts about the changes with echoes and acts and things like that, or maybe even going far as the lack thereof. So I figured we could talk about some of that stuff now that we've kind of hit the end of Act 1 of Echoes. I'm assuming we've all played through the stuff or not yet.
I did. I finished it today.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
I mean, like, I fully expected at least a couple more weeks.
Sure.
Like,
yeah.
I'm sure that a lot of that came down to like, okay, we're making the final shape, and this is the first thing. Like, it just feels very much like, oh, it's the season that came out with the expansion, so like we can't get like too much into it. So I am kind of like, I didn't think it was like super disappointing. I was more just like surprised.
I see what you're saying.
I thought the story stuff was fine. I didn't really capital C kind of care about it until this week, really.
Yeah. For sure.
Because I think like the stuff they did with Saint, I think is super interesting, and I'm really interested to know where that goes. But what did y'all think?
Yeah, what do you think? What are you thinking, Auri?
It's very fresh in my mind. Keep in mind, I did it like an hour ago. Yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of low on this one. I'm gonna be real.
That's fair.
Sure.
Yeah, I love Failsafe. I wanna make this very clear that
I think she is great, honestly, so far. I think her writing has been good.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, they have definitely made her more likable and better this season for sure, or episode or whatever. I'm probably gonna always still call it seasons, but at some point. But I think if you going back and thinking about it for her in Destiny 2 Vanilla's campaign, I don't think she worked as well there for me in that stuff. But I know that was kind of like, she kind of had like a very small minor part in it regardless, so she was never really like a central character in a moment. So I think like her being a more central character to this whole arc and being in this like little ensemble that they have for the episode, I think helps that they can kind of flesh her out more, and also the like role she is playing, where like, yeah, we haven't heard from her since Destiny 2 Vanilla, and she is like aware of that, and like is now like kind of being like, oh yeah, this is happening, and like, yeah, they play that up, and I think it works, and I think
really
it works
funny
really well
every time.
Yeah, it works.
I think
really
how
well.
Whenever all three of the characters in what's the fucking seasonal? Is it Breach Executable? Is the like main one?
Yeah, where you get the data. Yeah,
it's so funny that whenever all three of the fire team members die, there's a voice line for her just being like, oh no, it's happening again. Like, that's funny every time.
That's
so she's just like, everyone's down. Oh no, it's happening again.
Yeah,
that's so funny.
Her reacting to like people actually dying is actually pretty good.
It's very good.
It's like when you have like a full stack, somebody has a full stack of data and they die, and when somebody dies and they have that, she'll like say some line.
Calls them an idiot.
Yeah, she like calls them out like, this person had a full stack of data. What are they doing? They lost it all. It's just like, damn. Okay.
I haven't heard those.
Yeah, it's really funny.
Yeah, there's a couple of those in there. That's pretty good.
I like Failsafe a lot. I think that's great. I like actually the up until week 2. I guess so. I just like the first one. Maybe the first and second, but like the interstitial quests to get the containment thing, just because it's like, oh, this kind of gives me something to do. I liked going around and finding the stuff. I don't like the one that's like, all right, now do 7 bounties. It's like, no fucking thank you. Actually,
one of the story like objectives essentially just being a flashpoint is kind of wild.
But I'm very interested in the conductor, who is like this new character that they're setting up. And we have some, I feel like, pretty solid theories on who that comes from.
Totally.
I imagine it is probably a new character that evolved out of a previous character that we knew. But the Saint stuff I felt like was kind of weird and unjustified. Like, I just don't understand. I understand that Exos and Radiolaria and all that, but like, and they kind of mentioned that, but I just feel like that is like a leap.
I kind of read into it a little bit as, and like, I don't know if this was me just like doing weird theory crafting brain shit, but like, I am like reading into that as like, what if the Saint that we pulled from that timeline is like a Vex simulation that is pretty damn near identical to the actual Saint that died. And maybe that's why he is being able to be controlled, because he is a Vex like construct at his core, right?
I'd love to believe that. I think like my brain is just like too much in the it's Act 1, that's bait. Like that's
I understand.
Yes,
absolutely.
Like
yep.
That is how like, and it's so
I
out of
think you're
left field.
probably right here. Actually,
yeah, I do. I really feel like that's kind of how it's going to go. And then the Act 2 reveal is going to be that was bait, but something will still happen to Saint, and then we'll get the reveal of who the conductor is, and then another gap, and then into wherever this ends. I don't mind if it ends up being like 3 weeks of story for each act, and it's a 9-week total story. That is more than we've ever gotten, and I don't mind that. So when it was like it's over, it's like okay.
Yeah,
I think that doesn't bother me at all, honestly.
Yeah, I think if they do have that particular kind of cadence, I think having 3 weeks of story and then like 4 weeks of break and just like breaking that up so much, I think could damage some pacing stuff a little bit.
Sure.
But also, I don't know. We don't know what the story in Act 2 or 3 looks like. You know, we don't necessarily know if they like. It is entirely possible, like I said, that this first act could just be shorter because they had to get the final shape through the door, right?
Yeah.
So I don't know. It could just be like we could roll into Act 2. It could be a fucking banger. Like Episode 2 could also just be like, oh, that first act is like incredible. I don't know how much of that is me just absolutely coping here, but you know, we just don't know is the thing.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm landing, where like I'm trying to hold some. I definitely think I'm leaning more towards your feelings, Ari, of like I'm not fully on board with some of the stuff they're trying to do yet. But I want to see what Act 2 is before I really be like, okay, I don't know about this gal. kind of like go all the way in, because like it could really change up in Act 2. We know there's supposed to be like some things like, you know, they talked about like not just story stuff, but like new activities, new other things, and like we don't know this. We don't know the scale of that stuff. Like, is it going to be like it could just be like more breach executable in different areas or different setups, or it could be like a different activity, new entire activity altogether. I don't know. You know, we know there's
the exotic mission potentially.
We know there's like some kind of exotic mission that we're going to get at some point. So like if that's going to be in there, we also like, you know, I don't think they would, I guess it wouldn't really position this as like a full seasonal thing, but like I'm assuming we're gonna get like a dungeon some point in this whole period, like in this first episode, I feel like, or maybe with the start of maybe it is the second episode we get it there, I don't know, but like I feel like we're in that time frame where we normally would have gotten one, but everything's changing now with like the final shape shift into June in this episode, so I don't know. But yeah, just give a few thoughts on episode stuff. Like I am with some of the folks who are feeling a little bit burned by the, like, they kind of played up before talking this, and like, you know, people were on when they brought up episodes, and like when I think they originally revealed the final shape of like being a little bit more of a mix up to the seasonal like model and things like that, and it just does not feel like that is this at all. Like it feels like, I think what people were expecting, and a little bit myself, was like, not to say like I agree, like there's a lot of good story stuff here. I do find it interesting. I think Failsafe being included as like she's a slightly better character here. I am intrigued by the like Saint, like not knowing what timeline he's from, and going and like them playing up this idea. I thought that was like an interesting like thread to kind of pull on about like if he is from different timelines or is he the real Saint kind of thing. I think that could be an interesting road to go down potentially. But I think it was more of the presentation and the cadence of it all, of like, we still just got kind of a weekly feed of like, here, jump in. All right, you play like 20 minutes, and yeah, you go do Nessus bounties, and then you go back to, and then you go back to the Helm, and the failsafe says some quippy dialogue, and then you're done the quest for the week, and that's kind of like it. And then the Act 3 like had like the literal meme moment where it's like you literally just did some patrol stuff. And then you go, and then they tell you, oh, go at the Helm, something crazy is happening, important happening. You get 3 lines of dialogue just told you in the Helm. Then it's like, okay, go do a mission. And then it's like, you literally just had me, I spent probably more time loading in between going to Nessus, and then into a new mission than I did like in the Helm getting dialogue, like through that whole sequence. And this is like, I was hoping for a little bit more of a mix up to some of that stuff. And it seems like that really isn't happening here yet. So, maybe that stuff could come in Act 2, depending on what we get there. But it's hard to say for sure. If Act 2 comes and it's still kind of more of this, I'm definitely going to be a little bummed, and it definitely has a feeling of like, well, this is probably just going to be how this is until maybe episode 2 in October or whatever, and I'll just have to live with that or accept that or whatever it is. I think the activities themselves though are like pretty fine. Like the breach executable thing is kind of whatever. I do like the changes. I think they might have said in this TWAB, or maybe there was a
Destiny. It was like the D2 tweet.
It is a D2 tweet.
The team tweet or something.
I don't know if it was in that. Yeah, that might not have been the actual TWAB, so I could pull that up. But yeah, they basically just kind of said like, hey, here's some of the issues we knew about this, the feedback we've gotten from this activity, where like, the whole thing is that you are going from these like little bespoke kind of encounters in these areas, like the patrol areas of Nessus, and you're collecting little data squares, but in between those, there's like these big spires you can find that you can smash, and you get specimens out of them. And collecting those specimens like feed all back into like, hey, you can get more rewards at the end, or hey, you can give them to
like a substantial amount.
Yes,
actually,
you get like a significant amount of like. I've already finished all the red borders for those Echo's weapons because you get those. Like
you just get like an insane amount.
You just get a ton of stuff
sample shit
from just getting the samples. Like that's what. But it was frustrating because you'd have people who like maybe weren't fully aware of that, and that like you had to find.
I was not aware of that.
Yeah, you had to find like these big spires that you like
which
smash.
Are like really annoying to track down in their current state. I'm really happy they're addressing that.
Yeah, because it seems like
like I ran through, I think 4 of them, like intentionally looking for those spires in order to find the first spire I broke.
Yeah.
I'm happy that they're like bumping it up to like 2
find.
per and like increasing the waypoint stuff on it. I think that's really smart.
I think it's a good change.
That's what you use like the hammer.
Yeah, that's what you use the hammer charges you get. So when you crack those. There's a bunch of specimen you can go grab, and so when like if you have people who are just matchmaking and trying to find those, and people not aware, they're just like running immediately, like zooming ahead or going into like the portal, and that just yanks everybody forward to that thing and joining allies.
I have
so they're changing a lot of that stuff, so luckily it won't be as bad. But
I have found that people who queue into expert largely in between each encounter are just like. Let's go look for these fucking things.
Everyone stops and
they're
just
like
looks at
the
each
type
other
of people. If they're playing on expert, they're like more likely to be a little bit more clued in with a lot of stuff.
Would you call them expert Destiny players?
Yeah. Yes and no.
Some of them no.
Some of them definitely no. Yeah, because I
would definitely call them at least more informed.
Yeah, more informed, like slightly competent players.
Right.
Okay.
Because I agree. Like I definitely had that too. Like I moved up to expert, and like expert, you just get a lot more loot in general as well from those, which is really nice because you get 3 chests. And the 2 chests are like usually like guaranteed a specific thing. So like it'll straight up show you like, hey, this is a sword chest, and just has like a big sword icon over it. So you always
every clear
I
have gotten at least 1 ascendant alloy.
Yeah, and you get alloys, awesome. and you can dunk. You can also still dunk in that end thing at the sample in the chest room and get a bunch even more shit on top of that. So yeah, a lot of stuff from those. So like it at least feels like rewarding, even though like the moment to moment activity is just kind of like generic stuff we've done plenty of times where it's like, oh, I think this week they had one where there's Cabal now, and you shoot a Cabal ship down and it drops a bunch of those bombs, and then it's like that one battleground where you throw the bomb at that little generator and it blow it up. So it's just a bunch of those things this week. And then there's other ones where it's like, oh, you get the Vex craniums and you shoot these little Vex domes and things like that. So
which I still think that one's kind of neat.
Yeah, but, they're generally just kind of general activities. They're just sort of whatever. I actually really do like the other one though, specifically Enigma Protocol. I do like that activity.
I did this for the first time this week. No fucking idea what was going on. It's so strange, because I was so focused on, and I got a lot going on, you guys. I was so focused on the final shape stuff and grinding stuff there, the class items. It's all so separate. So now I'm trying to readjust to seasonal stuff. It's crazy how different they are.
It's different. It's a different vibe,
I would say. But yeah, I'm not necessarily caught up on Destiny content for maybe obviously reasons now to people listening and stuff like that. So I'm a little bit behind. I feel like I need to watch a guide on what the fuck is going on in this activity versus the coil, which I feel like I figured out pretty quickly.
This it's like what this activity feels like is that they basically took the season of the Splicer speed running sever activities and basically smashed them together and made it and they basically just tried to seems like this activity very much feels like, oh, coil was really popular. We can try and make one of those things. Can we do that? And this is what they quickly amalgamated together to get that. So I wouldn't call it as strong as coil is, but it gets, I think it gets close. And because because it incorporates that splicer mentality of the areas you drop into are kind of the speed running areas. So you're meant to kind of just run through them as quick as you can. And there's these little golden kind of nodes you see are little the kind of gold gems in those areas, and you shoot those to increase your time. So you want to look out for those while you're going through the areas.
Okay.
And then when you hit the ends of those kind of speed run, or just kind of run through areas, you do get into an encounter, and then the encounter has those gems in it too, and then they have there's a few different ones, and so then you kind of go through that, and then you'll hit a point where you get to a chest, and then that's a round completion, and then but then you can keep going, so you can go for a second round. So there's only just the 2 rounds now in that, but I wouldn't be surprised maybe that's another thing in the X, where that opens up and you get more spaces for that to do in. I know one of the quests was bugged this week or something, so I don't know if that had anything relating to that extra Enigma Protocol thing. I don't know.
I don't know. I also really like Enigma Protocol.
I think it's it's a
rewards. It rewards you for being. I don't know if rewards is maybe the right term, but it encourages you to be good at a completely different aspect of the game than Coil would, right?
Yeah.
It forces you to be okay, just go as fast and play as efficiently as you can. A lot of times I'm just leaving ads up and stuff like that, but it's really, I don't know, the timer that it gives you is so demanding, and it starts so low that it immediately just flips a switch in my brain that it's just okay, no, I have to lock in for the next 12 minutes or so.
Yeah, it definitely I think I would say rewards a mastery of those things. So it was cool to load in and be oh, I remember this spot, these areas from Splicer, so I already have a pretty good idea of how to get through them relatively smoothly. And then also figuring out oh yeah, there's those nodes are pretty much in every little path that you go through, and once you shoot multiples of those, you will get a message that'll say I think it says security checkpoint reached or security reached or something breach,
security zone cleared or something like that.
Once you shoot them all
this
in that
sounds
zone,
familiar, and then this happened for sure.
Yeah, and then you
some other person was very far ahead of me, eager edging and
oh yeah, absolutely.
Sure, yeah.
Don't take that out of context. And
They were
breaking
edging
all
to
the notes
completion.
and stuff. Yeah, they were edging to completion, which we did to the witness. Congratulations.
We did it.
Yep.
But yeah, and I think it's cool, and like they have like their own little like you get some decent rewards from that too, where you get the season of the dawn weapons, but they have multiple perks on them from that if you get through them. So I got like let me pull up I got the what is it the sidearm with the perk combo that's like really good. So I was like, oh hell yeah. Let me find that real quick.
I might have deleted that. The thing that I got.
Hell yeah.
So.
Yeah, I know, right? Because it doesn't tell you immediately. I got it with threat. It has threat detector, Vorpal, and slice hatchling. So it's like, okay, great.
Yep, seems pretty good.
Pretty much just to have that one, and now I'm set.
That's good.
So it's pretty cool. You can get that. Like, I think I got like a linear from that as well that had multiple things on it.
Yeah.
It's a solar linear, right?
It's an arc one. So I got it with it has moving target volt shot, but then I have deconstruct bait and switch. So it's not like as good, but that maybe deconstruct
still
bait
not
and switch. Deconstruct bait and switch could be interesting, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I do like that. Like it has like a little bit of a different reward for doing those. So it's I like it. But yeah. Overall, like I'm overall I'm like kind of like I feel like I'm in the middle. We're like I think maybe all three of us are like kind of in the middle of the kind of the general community sentiment of this. Of like some people kind of seem down. Some people are just like it's fine, and that's I think we're kind of in that boat. Where like it's fine. I kind of want to see what Act 2 is before I really start being like okay maybe we should see maybe y'all should think about what these are again and where it makes sense.
Yeah. That's what I want. Like, I want to give them the benefit of the doubt of like, I want to see what Act 3 feels like, like,
Same.
Yeah.
What is the progression? What does this feel like to like transition into Act 2? I don't know. Yeah.
And I think like, I know some people are like more miffed by like them calling like a lot more stuff time gated. Which like they're not technically wrong because like now we have like a season pass that like technically is hit rank 100 and now we are in like the thing where we don't know if it's like we're gonna hit Act 2 and it's just gonna immediately give you levels because we are technically leveling and then we can just grab stuff. So is that going to be what's happening or not really? I don't know. And then like there's like weapons.
Sure doesn't seem like it.
There's weapons. There's weapons that are going to be dropping. That are like seasonal weapons, and like you can go look at them like in dim and like places like GG and stuff, and like see like oh yeah these are weapons that are a part of this season that are technically in the game, but like they're just a part of the separate acts. So like people are like getting up and like uppity about the time gating stuff, which I know has always kind of been a thing. And I don't know. I personally in a similar cadence of like. I personally don't mind having the downtime, but I also
I got other shit to do.
Exactly. Like there's like
Dawn Trail just came out, man. Like,
Dawn Trail. Yeah, there's other stuff I like to go play and just not and there's times when it's like this game can feel like it's like a second job,
a job,
job. So like the idea of I get like in some ways people look at it as like oh I can't do everything now, so now I have to like wait. And like I get that feeling, but I also see it as like a way to be like, okay, yeah, I guess I have to wait, but that means I can go do other stuff, and like that stuff will still be there in like 2-3 weeks when it comes out, and then I'll play it then, and that's fine. I don't think that's like that big of a deal. So yeah, I think I'm fine with this cadence. We'll just have to see how it progresses.
Yeah, it's like damned if you do, damned if you don't, right? People complain about crafting, complain about red borders, complain about there's no rewards after they've done everything in the coil or whatever. So now I'm never going to run the coil again.
Right.
And then it's like, okay, well, this is how they're trying to address that of like, you will get new rewards that are potentially better as the episode goes on. But then it's like, well, now you're time gating. You're preventing us from getting these rewards. You're denying us our due reward.
Right.
And it's like, well, what the fuck do you want?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. I see the needle that they're trying to thread. I don't know if there is a way to do it.
Right. I just don't think there is, because like our way that like is going to please everybody, because like it's just they've never really done that. I don't think there's a way to do that. So
I don't know either. You can see, like, speaking of Dawn Trail, like you can see the inspiration, right? Like the 1-to-1 of like, 14 has like these patches and like that's a new main story quest and stuff. Is like I feel like that's kind of the vibe that they're going for.
Sure.
But whether that is successful or not, we just found out Iron Banner is going to be 2 weeks. People are pissed. Like,
they're so mad.
Yeah, that's so weird to me, frankly.
Weird.
But it's like PvP can sometimes just feel like such a foreign world to me in this game these days.
Sure,
I'm just like not clued in to it at all.
Exactly. Yeah. Like I don't engage with it in a level that some people do. And they just get
there's people that like playing trials every weekend. I don't understand that.
Yep, same. We can go, because that information is in the TWAB for the week, so I have that pulled up so we can look at this. And speaking of Act 2, that's the top here. It's because Act 3 is ending. They do say July 16th is our date for when Act 2 begins.
A week before my birthday. Let's go.
So yeah, that's when we'll get the next story beat and get whatever else
get a new dev live stream before that, which will be exciting.
Yeah, that's right. They did say a live stream.
Really liked those with Into the Light. I thought they were great.
Same. So I think that's a good thing. I'm excited to see what that means. I bet that would be probably like the week before, maybe, or something like that. But yeah, now we know. Like you said, Auri, 2 weeks of Iron Banner starting. That'll be the week this episode goes live. We'll have 2 straight weeks. The funny thing is, like, people are just like, this seems like a lot, but they clarified also this on the Destiny 2 team's Twitter account, because of the extension we have with episodes where we have extra time. Like, technically, this works out to where, like, I think that there's even more trials weeks, because I know that's the thing people are kind of upset about, is like we're missing out. You're taking like a trials weekend away from us, when in reality, because of the extension of this, this equals out to pretty much the same amount of Iron Banner in trials there would be in like the seasonal cadence before episodes. It's just that now they're like essentially doing this to kind of correct that, by making Iron Banner 2 weeks.
I wonder if Iron Banner, like, because it's one of those things that like the like very involved, informed, like very dedicated population, I feel like just does not give a fuck about Iron Banner largely. But like, I wonder if the reason we keep seeing a lot of like stuff like this in like the TWID, and like there's like always like big announcements about Iron Banner, is I wonder if it's just like huge for a very casual audience. Like, it's just something people remember from D1, and it's just like, oh yeah, I remember Iron Banner. I'll hop back into that, and I'll keep doing that. I'm really interested to know if that's kind of the case.
Yeah, I don't know. I used to enjoy Iron Banner, and I they talked about they're updating the rewards here, where it's like guaranteed weapon drop at the end of every match, which is great. And then a high chance to get an engram on top of that to focus a weapon of your choice, right? Like, that's great. I think those changes are great. 2 weeks feels like a lot, but also, like, if you think about it, that's a lot of pinnacles back to back.
True. Yeah.
If you are trying to hit that power level, so that does make it like a good period at the end of each act, I assume, is when this is going to happen, to kind of get up for GMs and the master raid and stuff like that. It's a lot of Iron Banner.
It's a lot of Iron Banner.
You gotta play like 16 matches a week to get through all the pinnacle rewards, right? So it's like,
if you want
doofa. That's 32 Iron Banner matches in 2 weeks, y'all.
Actually,
and I don't.
And I'm not going to do that.
Considering the state that sixes are apparently in right now, too.
Sure.
Like, I kind of get where people are just like, hey, man, are you sure? Like, are you sure you want to do
Yeah,
that?
you do what we
Like-
do in air. Yeah.
How's it gonna feel to just be fucking facing a 6 stack of people running Kafostov speaker sight or the fucking Hunter super?
Which they're adjusting, I think,
They are,
before this
but,
goes
like,
live, to be fair.
Yes,
But
which is it's good. But like that Hunter super, my understanding is in PvP, that thing is
it's a
like,
nightmare. It's
an
truly
absolute nightmare.
Wow.
It's truly the idea of that in sixes, because I haven't really played sixes since the start of the season and everything. I will say, like, for the record, I've been talking about how I've been playing competitive 3 matches every week because I've been trying to get a good roll of
the
the
auto rifle.
riposte, which is a new frame of auto rifle. It's a lightweight frame. It's the first of its kind.
Okay.
It's void. It's great. It feels great. I have one. And there was like a bug with it, of course, where it like drops the same roll every week, where it's supposed to be a random roll. So that was a bummer. And I haven't gotten mine from this week, but I've genuinely been having the time of my life in 3v3 of just like prismatic and the way that changes the dynamic of fighting, and just like how when some of these come at you, it feels more like now than ever that you really don't know what they're about to do. And that's kind of fun. Like, you know, the duels and stuff turn out to be like really, really fun. And the only thing that's bad about that playlist right now is that there are special ammo crates, and I do not know why that they did that.
Yeah.
But yeah, and honestly, it feels like people are like boycotting them. Like no one, either everyone's using them and abusing them and it sucks, or no one is using them and we're all just having a good time, which I think is very funny. But yeah, I don't know. PvP is in a weird spot. The state of sixes. I'm sure that'll be a blog entry. I think that they've got a lot that they're trying to work on right now. I wanted to bring up, and we can maybe bring it up later. I wanted to bring up what you guys think about like the class disparity at the moment.
Sure.
Just because I'm curious if you have an opinion on it.
As yeah, I can say as the resident like plays 3 classes person, I've not played enough Titan because I know that's like the big one. But I will say out of the gate, I can definitely feel the difference on Prismatic. In terms of like a lot of these classes just really have like melee focused, and like that's like Hunter and Titan and even Warlock to an extent.
Even Warlock, yeah.
So like that just feels like weird how that worked out. And I think obviously it leans into like, hey, there's a lot more melee charges across these classes than on and abilities compared to like a grenade, which you just have one of. And then like the other part of it is like, I really hope, because I know they also in like they've done some interviews and stuff, and I know like they've talked about like they're talking a lot about Titans internally, not just Prismatic Titan, and their kind of like identities within the game. I know like that was like an interview that came out recently. I think it was from Fireteam Chat or something like that. I don't remember exactly. But like the thing I will say is like the one thing I hope they do for just for Prismatic for sure, and this goes for all 3 classes, is like I think they need to give either the grenades that are currently available, like the souped up Prismatic grenades that the classes have, either give them all each other's grenades or make a new unique grenades for them. I know that's like something that they probably can't do anytime soon. But like I definitely feel like a big disparity there with all of them, where I think like the Warlock absolutely came out on top with theirs because it is way more universally viable in terms of like, hey, there's a big group of ads, I can throw this big fat void vortex grenade, and also freezes and it weakens, so I can throw it on a boss or do things like that. The Hunter one is like you have to be like it can do decent damage, but you have to like literally like throw it perfectly on an enemy. And if you have a scenario where like, oh, I'm fighting a Taken guy and they're just warping all over the place, and I just throw it and it just goes down, that grenade is like completely useless. Like you have to be in a very specific scenario where like, oh, I can huck this at a wall nearby and all the ads are conveniently like running at me in this specific scenario, or if they are doing that will work. Or if I throw it into a wall and then they just stop and where they're standing anyway, and it just is like a useless little wall in certain things. Like I think that could be useful in PvP, sure, because that's always the case. But I think like that like kind of limits that potency a little bit on prismatic with them, and again feeds into like, well, now it's just like their builds are going to be like rolling around a bunch and making the big freeze burst and punching dudes a lot, and that's kind of feeds into that because like the grenade is not really like a thing you can like work around as well. And the Titan one I think is very similar, where like the Titan one is very good at crowd control, but like you're never going to use that in like a damage scenario or do some kind of other thing with it, because all it does is like suspend and jolt. So like, and I don't think it shoots out any kind of jolting thing unless you suspend something with it. So it just kind of comes out and just kind of, and if it's like you're fighting enemies that can't really be suspended, or like getting suspended doesn't really matter, like then you're kind of boned with that. So I think like that could be an initial thing, and like I think the easiest route would be to just be like, hey, everybody, all three of them have all the same, and then they can just use whatever one from the three that's bad. But I get that would kind of lose the identities of those a little bit in that regard. So like, you know, the dream scenario I guess would be like make more unique ones that are around their classes or whatever, and like have like I don't know, like a grenade, like a hunter grenade that like, you know, like have like a hunter grenade that makes like the swarm, like the little solar things, but they're like, I don't know, like they like strand slice or like or do like unraveling or something on top of that fiery explosion or something like that. I don't know, like it's something that even if they were to like try and do that, that would probably be like a long ways away to build and make all that stuff. So in your term stuff, I don't know as much.
It's interesting because like I obviously don't really play my Titan or my Hunter, but like my kind of understanding is that like everybody I think just kind of acknowledges that like prismatic Titan is just very like
limited.
I'll say weak, but also I think it's like just a lot more limited in
limited
like what you can do with it, right?
Yeah.
And I think that it kind of goes I think a lot of the like issues that people are having with it is like it kind of goes against what the pitch for prismatic in the first place is, which is like, you know, come up with fun new builds to like experiment and like adapt to like your different circumstances or like what you're trying to do. And like it just feels like prismatic Titan is just all right, you can punch different.
Yeah.
You can do a different punch type thing.
Yeah.
You know?
And it's like
it's one of those things that like because it's not necessarily tied to like the strength of any of the abilities, it's not something that can be like easily rectified by like, oh, we'll just make this do like, you know, 40% more damage against like red bars or orange bars or whatever. Right. Like it is entirely just like a class identity thing, which is a lot tougher to address.
Yeah. Yeah. That's definitely, it compounds because Titans are melee focused. So you have this scenario where you give them, they have a bunch of different melees, but they don't really have much else because you can't really do much with like, you know, the most potent, both of the most potent aspects that Titan has, prismatic Titan, are melee focus as well on top of its abilities. And then like the grenades are like you have a suspend like a normal suspend grenade, which is obviously can be useful in certain scenarios. But then what are the other ones? You have suppressor and like
pulse
grenade, and then there's like a couple things, but like you can't really use them with that in a meaningful way. And then because all the aspects that would be using on prismatic Titan are also like I'm not like people like the ice spear thing. It was never meant to be like a core thing. Even on base as like stasis Titan, it was never really good. Even with the buffs they gave it, it's like fine. But you weren't really making like a hardcore build around that, and like they aren't gonna like. And I feel like buffing that super hard would like you said would not be a thing that would be like, oh my god, that's gonna completely open Titan up. Or at least I just don't see that being the case.
And like even like adjusting or like adding different aspects to prismatic Titan, I think would cause some issues because then you'd have to address the class items because those are kind of built with the aspects that prismatic Titan have in mind, you know, like, and so like a lot of that stuff it just gets tricky, and I don't envy the people who are trying to figure this out.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
basically
me
what I'm
either.
saying.
Yeah, it's tough because like I think in my head the thing that should be important is that every aspect on Prismatic should feel viable. Or even beyond that, like every ability should feel viable. It doesn't necessarily have to be. And I know there's like the sickening Destiny reality of like players love to optimize the fun out of the game, and I think that is like extremely real in Destiny. To the point where, like, you know, there's infamously people saying, like, if you're not running well on Warlock, I don't want you on my fire team, right? Like, that kind of situation comes up a lot, which I think is more shitty players and people than it is, like, the other things aren't viable. Because obviously, like, Voidlock is great, and Arc Warlock can even be really great. And Strand Warlock is phenomenal. But, like, there are a lot of things that, and we talked about this a little bit on the last episode of, like, why would I run any other melee that isn't the 3-charge melee? Even if it has the longest cooldown, you know, running a pugilist weapon or something like that. And I have been leaning more on pugilist as a perk. So I think that speaks to the truth of what you were saying, Mike, of like, really feels like melee focused. But like Weaver's Call, I just, there's, and I don't know how you feel as a fellow Permalot Cam, but like, there's just no reality where I'm ever going to run that in anything, right?
Yeah, I don't think it's necessarily bad. I think that it's just that, like, Devour is insane, like, Bleak Watcher is insane. Like,
if I want to pass it,
there's extremely obvious things. And I think that plays with the two other classes. I will say, like, I think that plays a lot well, where it's just like you said, with
that's
like
true of the other two.
Yeah, with Titan, it's like, why would I run? Why would I run the, like, I'm throwing the ice spear when I can do knockout, which heals me when I melee, which I already have, which I have 3 charges of melee, I have consecration, which is a big fire explosion, which ignites stuff and also will heal me when I do it because of knockout. So it's like, why would I ever run this icicle? Like, I can throw a little dinky icicle spear when I can heal myself through melees and all these other things, and like not have a viable option like that. And the same thing with Hunter, where it's like, I've been using gunpowder, like setups with like gunpowder gamble more, but it's like hard to be like, here's status executioner, which they have made it so I can literally do any kind of debuff and I'm constantly invisible, on top of when I can use this dodge roll, and then I can dodge roll and then, you know, freeze blast everybody. And like, why would I do that over, like, you know, I think they have like, they have Gunpowder Gamble, and they have Threaded Spectre, and then they have the new Arc one, which like the new Arc one is like, can be fine in some spots, but it seems like that would just be more beneficial to like be fully kitted out on an Arc subclass build, which like, yeah, it's fine. Like that's how some of them are always going to be, where it's like, that's by design. They want to have some stuff to be more potent via that, but that just, I think, hamstrings those prismatic classes to feel like, okay, yeah, you pretty much, there's just things they're just outright more like feel stronger and better because of, you know, the things they have currently available, and like what the current sandbox is asking, and also with the subclass, or the exotic subclass items or whatever. It's like, now it's like, there's a bunch of melee stuff on that Arc, on that Hunter one. So like, of course I'm going to run Hunter melee stuff now. Yeah. And then like, what else would I do there? That feels better. Not much.
I think that's like killing the mood for Titans that are like particularly frustrated, is that like, I don't think there has been any scenario before where one class has felt this out of bound, right? Like, I do think Hunter is like extremely out of bound at this point. Like, it is beyond an outlier. It is like clearly broken.
Straight up, like, the strategy that a lot of teams that cleared contest mode for Salvation's Edge was just 6 stacking Hunters with Celestial Nighthawk and Still Hunt. Like, it just does that much, like, consistent, easy damage.
And it's like, it's not that it's easy, it's just that it's like so clearly just beyond what any other class is capable of, right? Like, I love that, you know, Euphony, the new raid exotic with Warlock, has this whole setup that is like 10 times the skill ceiling that Still Hunt Hunter is, right? Like, it's like, it's not terrible. Like, do your thing, apotheosis veil, throw a bunch of grenades, and then shoot the gun.
Yeah.
But Hunter, it's like literally just shoot the gun.
Yeah. Shoot the gun, hold E, shoot the gun, or hold R, shoot the gun.
And I'm not trying to poo-poo it. Like, it's cool, and I am excited about it. I think it's cool. The synergy is great. It's just like they are too powerful, and it makes the other classes feel bad.
It's that on top of the melee kill shit too that hunters can do. It's just like so out of bound. But go ahead, Mike.
Sure. I would say I feel like you can make similar arguments for like the buddy stuff that the warlock can do.
Totally.
Where I think that's pretty
strong as fuck.
That shit is pretty strong for sure. And,
they even nerfed it a little bit already, and it's still just as strong.
Yeah. And like you said, the Song of Flame stuff also strong. But I think it is. To your point, Auri, of like it is definitely a scenario based thing where like hunters feel incredibly out of thing because of the raid, what the raid asks of us, and the damage that is required to like damage the witness, which is it is a precision weapon thing where like that. So it's and that's like that is the hunter's thing with a literal precision damage super, which none of the other classes have, right? None of them really have that. So like it's gonna feel extremely powerful because like it's the kind of the thing they have. Like if hunters did not have that, they would be almost in the exact same boat of the other ones where like you're not going to be using Storm Edge. Storm is the new Storm Edge arc super on the witness.
That'd be sick if you were though.
Yeah, funny. You would be real funny.
You throw the knife and then get incinerated, which I've seen people do
exactly
because people have tried to do that with Titan and Thunder Crash the witness's chest and they hit it and then just get it immediately incinerated and died because it's the damage. Like he has like a damage field around him or whatever. So like I think you're definitely right that it is like an extremely potent combo, but it is because of the scenario that the raid asks of, where I think like things like the Song of Flame stuff, like you said, like you can literally just be like freely running around a GM and not matter. Sounds pretty similar to what a Titan of
totally
a Banner War Titan was doing like 2 or 3 seasons ago when that first was introduced. So like obviously I think that things will get changed and readjusted, but I think our overall like the Titan dilemma definitely does feel a little bit grander than that because of the subclass, just because of like the prismatic role it's been kind of tied into, and it's like compounded on it's funny because it's like compounded on the thing of like how many years have we had people going like Titans just all they do is melee, and it's like everyone's been like it's fine, it's all right, and then now we're getting to this point, and then it's like, oh yeah, you know what, all they did was melee, and now like they can't really do anything because they've been pigeonholed by this kind of scenario, and like maybe they were right this whole time. A lot of people probably being like see, like I'm sure there's a lot of people who feel like that right now, and that's fair because I would have.
It's a valid feeling,
It's valid. I
also think that like the Ward of Dawn changes were just kind of weird,
unnecessary.
Like it's
in retrospect,
one of those things. Totally, because nobody was really kind of using it to begin with, you know. But
and like, this has not changed the narrative on that at all.
Where would you still use that? Like,
right? Yeah, it's one of those things where like, just like use Twilight Arsenal, but also at the same time, like what you would use Twilight Arsenal like specifically for, like the Witness fight, right? What you would use Twilight Arsenal for could easily just be done with a void grenade, and that just feels bad, right? And so it's a tough spot. I would really like to see some like really inventive wild shit for Titans come out.
Here, I got an idea. We're gonna make a new exotic for the Titan.
Okay.
It's gonna be a helmet.
Oh,
yeah.
boy.
And when you put the helmet on, it turns 3 axes into 1 big axe.
Okay.
And the big axe does a lot of damage.
Okay.
Celestial.
And it does like a 70% debuff.
Celestial.
That would actually kind of go crazy.
Celestial, like what's a tomahawk? That would actually,
actually, I'm onto something. We're cooking right now.
Okay, we're cooking.
TM.
Call me Bungie.
TM.
That's right.
Yeah. TM.
But yeah. it's hard to say. Like I still want to play around with Titan more myself, because like I would say, like, and this, to be fair, goes for like anything really in the game, where like I'm just playing through the normal campaign and I'm slowly unlocking the prismatic stuff. I've done like a couple of missions and like using them, and I'm like, I am having an alright time. Like I'm still just at the base stuff with like the arc and strand stuff, which I think is like a fun combo of kind of stranding everything up and doing the big arc punch, because I already like that. I already had like a skull fort build. I was doing an arc Titan already that I liked a lot, just doing the big punch into dudes and constantly healing, getting it back. So like I could see a scenario where like that can play into that.
The new Exodus rocket chest piece like seems fun.
Yeah.
Like I know people have been having a good time doing it, but I don't know if it's like, it's definitely not as good as like on the same level as like prismatic warlocks and hunters are right now.
Yeah. I've heard it can be pretty fun to like in like general use, because it like buffs rockets and it buffs like sidearms, rocket sidearms specifically. So like there's
so you can like do a full rocket build, which sounds super fun.
Yeah, but. So it is fun for sure, but yeah, it's not really like a meta defining thing, which I think is like kind of the problem, where like there's sort of a meta defining, there's like more meta defining roles that came out of this kind of overall thing for hunters and warlocks, where like Titans just feels kind of muddied and like loose. Where like a lot of the older builds will probably work in some scenarios, but like a lot of the new stuff does not really feel like it has a place in some of this stuff.
Every person I know in groups that I play with that plays Titan are just like, I'm just doing fucking Strand Titan, man. Like whatever.
Right.
Like Banner of War, it still works fine.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna live here in my bubble and just grit my teeth and bear it at this point. So
yeah. So we'll have to see what they do. I think if they're talking about it, they clearly know as well, and see a lot of the feedback on it. So
there will be changes. We are in the era. I know, like it's 3 weeks in, right? Like everyone needs to hate Destiny again, right?
Yes. Like, the honeymoon phase is over. Yeah, the honeymoon phase.
The honeymoon phase is over. We're out of the final shape, right? The final shape is done, and now we're in just the seasons again, right? Like I understand, but like Into the Light was less than a month ago, and they were like crushing it, right? Like they're like, here's Whisper, here's Outbreak, here's like everything you want. Like we gotta believe that they're listening, right?
I still have a lot of confidence with how quickly they were able to turn around like arguably one of the best updates that they've ever released outside of an expansion, right?
Yeah.
So I
for free.
I am for free. What the fuck? Like I am still hopeful.
And they've made like some decent quality, like smaller updates, I would say, since the final shape, but there's like decent quality like things like they patched and changed the Pathfinder stuff to make it so you can do it only through PvE or now PvP. Like you won't be as forced
into. You don't even have to fucking play Gambit.
Yeah, you don't even have to play Gambit. They straight up just removed Gambit. Like that's what they said. They said like we're removing Gambit nodes and restructuring in a way. I will say some of them have definitely become a little bit more extreme, and that like and maybe some of them were there and I just didn't notice as much. But like one of them was like bank 150 motes in Gambit. That was like one of the things on that. Right? That's like 6 or 7 matches of Gambit.
Yeah, if you're like a capital G gamer, that's at least like 5 matches.
Yeah, that's like a fucking lot. Like how to make me absolutely never do that or play Gambit is make one of those. But like there was even some in like strike ones where like I got one that was like kill 125 Cabal, which is like, okay, that's like seems doable, like but it's like
3 or 4 strikes.
Yeah, that's a lot of strikes.
That's a lot of strikes, and like you have to get, and like the thing I was kind of salty about was I got that it was like, well, let me just go load one from a map. Nope, it has to be in the playlist. So you have to get one in the playlist to like complete that. So it definitely felt a little bit like, all right, y'all, you're pushing this in a way that's like clearly like farming for some playtime here. Sure does feel like it right now with this stuff, but
I also like. So
I don't know.
A lot of my problem with the Ritual Pathfinder, like the objectives, like sure, fine, whatever. There's always been like weird bounties that take too long. Like these are definitely like on the
but not 150 notes too long.
Yeah, totally.
Yes.
But It also just
Wow.
feels weird, and like it's very anti-synergy with the entire reputation system for those vendors too.
Yeah.
Where like, okay, well, I've done all I can on a Pathfinder as far as like PvE stuff goes, so now let me run a couple Crucible matches, but then my streak for Vanguard stuff is going to drop, and so then I have to run more in order to like do that, and it just like it feels very clumsy in a way that I just don't love. I pretty much will just like do one of those a week, maybe. I think I've only done 2 of them.
I think that's
I think I did 2 of them this week because it was
or like the Pale Heart ones. I do 3 like every week. Like,
the Pale Heart ones are like much more breezier to do and can be a little bit more
fun.
They're fun.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think again, I think the ritual one still needs some tweaking, but like the fact that they did that change in a couple weeks alone,
they're already pretty nimble with it.
They're definitely listening to that and
hoping that gets
making
better.
more changes.
The mid-season patch is going to be hefty on this.
I think so.
Yeah, they did mention that. I think it says because they talked about a couple of the changes they're making to, like you said, Kvostov is getting some recoil changes. They say here it should come as no surprise to anyone who used this beloved bullet bouncing auto rifle that there was something different about the recoil.
Yeah, there wasn't any.
Yeah, there was literally zero. This is the result of a bug. We intend to reduce only the recoil of the special ricochet rounds by 50%, but it was instead applied to the entire magazine, effectively giving Kvostov maximum stability. It made the gun substantially easier to use than any other auto rifle, and has predictably led to a huge spike in effectiveness in the Crucible.
It's wild, y'all.
Yeah. Many players, now I know why you like Crucible so much right now.
Yeah, I will say, for the record, I used Kvostov 100% of those matches.
Oh yeah, of course. Why wouldn't you?
Yeah.
I did not use Speaker's Sight. I didn't like pick up on that quick enough, but that Kvostov
you still got time.
I'll get in there in the weekend. You know what I mean?
Let's play some trials. You know.
Yeah, but they're basically saying we will be removing the bugged effect that reduces recoil by 50%, but as a middle ground, we've increased the base stability from 30 to 72. This will give it back some, not all, of the stable feel without leaving it so far in advance.
Fucking crazy, dude.
It's still
that
pretty.
Thing is still going to be
potent.
like a fucking rock. Oh my god.
Yeah. The ricochet shots is also getting adjusted. While the bouncing round are fun for PvE, they are proving to be problematic balance issue for PvP, with very high uptime and the ability to be buffed by orbs. The damage then they deal both on initial impact and on their returning bounces allows Kvostov to neutrally drop its time to kill down to level usually reserved for more difficult to trigger damage bonuses. Would avoid impacting PvE with this change. We've reduced the initial bonus impact damage across players only from 15% to 5%. We also reduced the bullet bouncing damage against players from 18.4 to 4.6, leaving PvE unchanged. Definitely a big nerf to PvE.
Huge
Kvostov, but
sounds like
necessary. It was basically free, though. It was so free.
Yeah.
If your team was bunched up at all, it was just like, all right, I'm just gonna kill one dude and probably get a double out of it,
and then clean up. Basically, yeah,
totally, yeah.
They're also saying they're changing Red Death's recoil because unlike Kvostov's, it was not bugged, but it was trying to make a connection to the original Destiny weapon, which was like Outbreak, which utilized auto rifle recoil patterns instead of the more severe pulse rifle ones, given them the tighter burst spread and the higher ease of use. While Red Death is not as far as out of line in terms of strength, the high impact family of pulse rifles itself is very strong. And having all the bonus stability provided by the special recoil pattern feels like overkill. So we have experience with several different tuning options for completely replacing the recoil with the standard pulse rifle recoil. Felt like it shifted the gun too far from its origins. Excuse me, so we've chosen instead to reduce the added stability that the pattern provides. This will align burst spread more closely with other pulse rifles, retaining much of the unique feel. So there you go.
Yeah,
that's good. Good
Red Death's also insane, like recoil. It was like, also kind of too stable.
Yeah, it seemed really.
Yeah,
really
I mean,
good.
I also
a little bit I used it, but I didn't use it too much.
Yeah,
but it seemed
I used it, I think, for like a good part of my legendary campaign run.
Mhm.
And a little bit after that, and then whenever I got Kvostov, I have not touched this thing. So
Yeah. But
Yeah, it's good.
yeah. In the last change, they show speaker sight. It's too easy to generate extreme number of orbs in Crucible using this exotic. This
Sure
plays into
was.
several abilities. So I didn't see this. So what was the thing? Was it 'cause the
you
healing
could,
grenade?
yeah, the healing grenade. It basically like the effect essentially, makes a turret, and then
Right.
that turret, if it was healing somebody, it could spawn an orb. Anyway, it worked with Touch of Malice.
Oh.
Yep.
Yeah.
And so you could just have like two people on your team, just like with Touch of Malice, healing each other constantly.
Right.
Also worked with ricochet rounds, which is fun.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
A lot of people
then-
were also like just stacking it with Kvostov to get the better
Exactly.
ricochet gun rounds
Exactly.
out the gate, and then just shredding into like the first encounter of like a trials match. Like you get 2 healing turrets down, and then
Yep.
you're shredding immediately.
Right.
It's
Which
so
like the
much
healing turret
momentum.
on its own,
Yeah, it's pretty brutal.
already pretty good.
Extremely
The orbs
good.
just like were too much.
They have like a 20 meteor radius when you hit somebody with a healing pellet, it like heals everyone in 20 meters. It's
It's
bonkers.
pretty insane.
Yeah. So they're doing a short-term solution for now for this. They're disabling the orb generation portion of the exotic in Crucible entirely. But they said the long term they will revisit allowing the orb to create orbs at a more reasonable
Which is
rate. So
still fair because it's still going to be good because
Yeah.
the healing turret is very good. You can destroy the healing turret if you are on the enemy team. You can shoot it and break it and destroy it as a
heads up.
heads up for
Um,
everyone out there.
Yeah, but let's see the future. Then they say the long-term future is as they have changes to Iron Banner and the sandbox. The only things we have planned, we'll have more to talk about before the mid-episode patch. So keep an eye out for that. We don't want to give too much away while things are still in flux, but we've got several quality of life features to roll out. A Destiny 2 reprised map coming in the next episode. Some UI updates to help with clarity, and a big feature that we're heads down working on for our 3rd episode that we can't wait to share with you all. It's an even bigger thing. So cool. So that's kind of the big things from the TWAB. And I mean that's largely Destiny 2 for this week.
Yeah. Pretty cool witness cosplay in there.
Yeah.
Yeah,
seen it.
they
It's
did
fucking
some more,
tight.
some more cosplay. Was a cosplay corner or whatever. Yeah, they did a lot of really cool stuff with that. That's a really cool one.
The Mithrax one I think is still my favorite.
It is my favorite.
The
also.
Mithrax,
It was
yeah.
so insane. Oh my
I
god.
like legit thought it
insane.
was a screenshot when I first
Damn,
saw
it
Yeah,
was so
yeah,
good. Oh my
Yeah,
god.
that one's definitely was the best as well. I agree. But yeah, Destiny 2. That's it for this week. Farewell to our 3rd here, Auri O'Neill.
Farewell. Thank you
Still-
guys.
we'll
It's
still
been
be-
so fun.
It has been fun as
been
always. We'll still talk, but just for
Yeah,
all things.
I'm
I'm
still
still
dead
gonna
to
talk to
me,
you
Ari.
guys
Best of
No,
luck.
like
you're
every
dead
week
to me.
probably.
Banned
the
from all
fuck
chats.
outta here.
Get the fuck
More-
out.
More true than anywhere else. Like I'm going to talk to you two in particular. Like
That's true, actually. Yeah,
constantly, 'cause-
a lot of
Yeah.
people say shit like that when they like leave like a job or something. But like we are in a group chat that is very active.
Yeah.
So, like,
Yeah.
and we're all shit posting. You know?
Yeah,
We
yeah,
can't-
there's
absolutely.
plenty of shit posting going on in there.
right.
So yeah, some things will change. Helm Tower as a channel will probably be changing in some regard. Like me and Cam we'll see. We'll figure it out.
Yeah,
like
we need to figure out what we want to do with that.
yeah. So we'll we might continue the podcast just with us two. Maybe we can force some random person to join us. I don't know. Well, if
Grab some rando off the street and be like,
Yeah.
"Hey, fucker, if you ever played a Bungie game."
That's right.
tell Moises to join.
Yeah.
So he can explain his like mental trauma from the Force.
Yeah,
encounter.
that would be really funny.
Actually, yeah, I would like
It's-
that for sure.
Yeah,
It's funny too.
everybody just tweet shapes at Moises. Just do
Yeah.
it without any
No
context.
I'm just gonna send him that shape graph that we've used a couple times and see what he thinks.
Yeah.
It's funny because like of the things that
And also-
I've produced and stuff, like this is probably the show that I'm going to listen to.
Hell yeah.
I love this show, so like I'm probably gonna just listen to you guys talk about Destiny
Yeah.
from here on.
Hey,
Assuming
you
that
hear
it
that,
continues
Mike? We
in
got
some
another
capacity.
fucking listener. Let's go, baby.
I will be in the
Subscribe
comments
and like
every episode. Strangleave. You know it's coming.
Yeah. We'll definitely we'll either keep the show going or like maybe like reformat it into a way that makes sense for just two of us. Other stuff will be going on because it's funny that worked out. The this week the episode will probably be up. There's also 2 games I've been waiting to cover that are not Destiny related, but they're in the Destiny adjacent thing. One is First Ascendant. It is like a looter shooter.
Yeah.
That's
I completely forgot about that.
Yeah. That's out Tuesday next week. Tuesday, isn't it? And then that Thursday, 2 days later, is Zenless Zone Zero, the next Hoyo game.
Jesus.
So I played like some in the closed betas and had a lot of fun with that. So probably the easiest way for me to like play those in some meaningful capacity for this channel is I might just stream them. I might just get it live on the internet and stream playing through like early parts of those and then do some videos on them later. That's what I'm thinking right now. So we'll probably end up having a lot of stuff going on the channel next week. Regardless of not necessarily Destiny fully related, but we'll still be doing stuff here on the channel. Is basically my point. And we're gonna figure out the rest soon enough here. But for now, thanks everybody who's been sticking with us, listening to Helm Tower podcast, either on podcast services or here on YouTube.com/Helm Tower. Always appreciated. And we'll be back soon enough once we figure it out. We'll let you know. But for now,
follow me at Auri Means Win and see my shit posting.
Yes. Yeah. Feel free to follow Auri. Best of luck. And we'll see everybody next time when we figure out when we come back. I don't know. All right.
Bye.
Bye. I love you. Bye.